For centuries, whales have captured people's imaginations for their grace, intelligence, and elusiveness. This summer, along Canada's east coast, it was for their vulnerability, as scientists tried to figure out why so many North Atlantic right whales, a threatened species, were washing ashore dead. Tom Murphy set out to find answers to the mystery of the vanishing whales.
It's a mystery. At least 15 North Atlantic right whales dead in just a few short weeks, leaving few clues but carcasses littering the shores of the East Coast. A fragile population that was just coming back from the brink of extinction. Now a mystery that needs unraveling.
We're still trying to help this population recover one whale at a time. And so each of these losses affects its potential for recovery.
This is a very depressing story. And if the mortalities continue at anything what they have in this last year, if they approach it, we've got a situation that we may not be able to turn around.
Bring it forward.
Here on the waters that hug the shore of Lubec, Maine, whale detectives, if you like, are on the case. At dawn all summer long, on a tiny 20-foot boat, these research scientists steam 3 hours into the Bay of Fundy between Maine and Nova Scotia, patrolling, searching for clues.
So this is a real deep water area, in excess of 200 meters in depth in places.
Mo Brown is a right whale scientist at the Canadian Whale Institute. For the past 37 summers, she's come here to work with other experienced right whale researchers. This year, looking for evidence, hoping for a lead in a desperate situation.
That is a critical area. It has been a critical area for the North Atlantic right whale. What's happening there now?
Well, this year has been a year with very few sightings. So we had a couple of dozen right whales the end of July, early August. And then we had a lot of surveys with no right whales sighted.
And that's what has researchers on edge. To lose so many whales in one summer is much more than tragic. It's a catastrophe for one simple reason. Fewer than 500 North Atlantic right whales are left on the planet. They are solitary and in their own way mysterious, and they don't give up their secrets easily.
We're just looking over the surface of the ocean. There is magic by seeing the birds, but there is also tremendous magic by seeing a whale surface up. We know we can collect a little information on that whale and contribute to our understanding of it, and then it disappears again, and we're essentially just looking at the surface of the water. So the magic lies below.
Now there's an international effort to try to understand the North Atlantic right whale and its migration habits. This mother and calf was spotted in the Gulf of St. Lawrence this summer.
Like spiky things breaking the surface of the water, and then again.
Hundreds of groups, from regular citizens to respected scientists up and down the coast of North America, are part of this Herculean effort to save a species.
Yeah, I see. It's just like a tree branch or something. Yeah.
But get this, researchers are baffled. The whales aren't showing up where they usually do, and no one is really sure why.
And so days like this, where, you know, we can potentially spend 12 hours steaming around the Bay of Fundy that has traditionally been such a lucrative place for right whales and not see any, the challenge we're then faced is how long do we stay here and keep doing this?
So when the trail goes cold, try to retrace it. Here at the farthest tip of Cape Cod in Provincetown. In the spring, these waters are teeming with North Atlantic right whales, mothers and their calves. A feeding frenzy before heading further north to Canadian waters.
When the doors open to break the surface of the water, it makes them incredibly difficult to see.
An entire industry has been built up on their majestic beauty. whale watching tours.
Here we go, there's the calf back up at about 10.
In waters where the whales were once hunted for their valuable oil. There is a reverence for whales here. Listen to naturalist Carolyn O'Connor talk about the right whale.
I really fell in love with them with a certain behavior that I saw down in the calving and breeding grounds. It's a behavior called cradling, where the mom will be upside down at the surface and she will hold her calf in between her two pectoral flippers. And it's very much a bonding situation. I'm sure other species do that as well. I've only seen it with the right whales. I'm sure humpbacks do that as well, but that's what made me fall in love with them. And they're not a species that gets enough attention, in my opinion. So I'm kind of, like I said, advocating for them a little bit.
And the right whale desperately needs advocates. The mammal's birthing rates are dropping. Add to that the untimely deaths this summer. These mammals, who can live as long as humans and only reproduce every 3 years, are in trouble. Charles Stormy Mayo, right whale scientist with the University of Massachusetts, is based here in Provincetown, where they have not seen the carnage of right whales found in the Gulf of St. Lawrence.
There's too many whales dying in one location. There are times we have 200 whales in Cape Cod Bay. They pass through shipping lanes and very active fishing areas, and we do not have that number of entanglements or ship strikes.
And he fears that the number of deaths could in fact be much higher.
There may very well be a number of carcasses that weren't found. Perhaps whales that drowned in heavy gear, and even more likely, carcasses that blew offshore that were never found. So whatever numbers we get, they're probably a minimum, and the maximum is anybody's guess.
From here, the right whale mystery only deepens. Instead of coming to the Bay of Fundy to feed, they're going farther north to the Gulf of St. Lawrence, in unfamiliar waters where this summer's unprecedented tragedy unfolded. Scientist Amy Knowlton.
Their food resources are shifting. What brought right whales here to the Bay of Fundy was significant plankton levels. What we're seeing now is that these plankton patches don't seem to be happening, certainly not in the time of year that we're still here. Whether it's happening earlier, whether it's not happening at all, we don't know the answer to that.
Back in Lubec, Maine, at Whale Research Headquarters, in a shabby old Victorian house turned lab, Amy pulls up the stark photos from this summer.
Image on the left here is the carcass with a lot of the skin is gone.
Some of them entangled in fishing gear, others showing signs of blunt trauma, most likely being struck by a ship in one of the busiest shipping lanes in North America.
We have an extensive photo ID database.
Amy knows these whales like family members. Each one has identifying features. But she never imagined she would have to use those features to identify so many dead whales.
And we were able to say, okay, go to our software system and say, pull up all the individuals that have a black chin patch and are female, and
you can see the scars.
And you can see the scars here on the bottom right.
This is the same.
This is the same whale alive. So that's her ventral chin, and you can see these scars line up exactly. And we were able to match the majority of the carcasses that were found up there.
It was a difficult summer for these scientists.
I think we have all been tracking these individuals throughout their life. You know, we know how many calves they've had. We know who's fathers. We just know so much about the individuals. So it's personally heartbreaking to me.
Now the next step is trying to find a way to minimize the threat to right whales.
We're testing some ropes in Massachusetts with some lobster fishermen down there. They developed these like Chinese finger type sleeves, working with a rope manufacturer, that are of 1,700 pound strength, and they can splice them into their end line every 40 feet. And the hope is that if a whale hits that particular end line, that it's going to break it instead of start wrapping itself up in the heavy gear that's attached.
Defined shipping lanes that steer vessels away from areas where whales gather can also greatly reduce deaths. They know it works. It's been done in the Bay of Fundy.
Time is of the essence because we expect right whales to return to the Gulf of St. Lawrence next summer. So we still have our work cut out for us. These animals are still holding a lot of secrets from us.
Time is against these scientists. They need answers for the simplest question: where are the right whales going next? They can't protect them if they can't find them.
Oh, beep, beep.
Suddenly, on the horizon,
One there, there's one at 2 o'clock.
Oh, nice.
but ever so quickly, the excitement of spotting the familiar blow fades. It's not a right whale, but a pod of humpbacks, the wrong species. And so the mystery continues, the right whale refusing once again to give up its secrets from the deep. Tom Murphy, CBC News, on the Bay of Fundy.
Stay with us.